Hey guys, how's it going? Comparing here. Today I thought I'd give you guys like a quick lesson on some very basic things in Hearthstone, but there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of basically technical skills that you need to reach a pretty good level in Hearthstone. Now it's very unlikely that you really get to show your true skill in Hearthstone at any given game, but it is certainly likely that you will show your poor technical ability in a lot of games that you play. You know, it's not really enough to just copy a deck and play it, and it's not really enough to use like Hearth Arena to get a good arena deck and just play that. Now, most of these things I'm going to go over using spells versus creatures to remove stuff that you don't like from your opponent's board. And the examples I'm going to use are from the game in the end. So if you want to see the context, I think it's fairly important. You guys should check it out. And I do think there is some subjective stuff in some of these decisions, at least in this case. But the examples, I would mostly use them to generalize things. And the general case will absolutely be true. So this is the 101 of doing stuff, specifically in Arena. And because in Constructed, you don't really play around like board clears and that kind of stuff. Some of the concepts are still there, but usually when you're playing an aggressive deck, you don't really care what your opponent has. So it's a little bit different there, but the base concepts are really fundamental. So let's get to it here. So in this screen, this actually had some feedback that actually went against what I did. So here I have my ghoul and I'm against the priest's bomber, and my ghoul was not removed the previous turn, so the priest couldn't really do anything. He either didn't have a death or didn't want to use a death, and we're at the stage of the game where we both have very few cards. So the correct play here is to fireball the bomber. The reason you want to fireball the bomber is because you want to play the boulder fist the same turn as you remove something. If you polymorph the bomber and play the boulder fist, what might happen is he might have an attack buff or like a Velen's Chosen, something like that, and then you could lose your ghoul, which would be really, really sad. So in this case, while it may seem like a really bad idea to fireball a 2-drop, it's not that you're trading fireball for the 2-drop. Yes, you're trading fireball for the 2-drop, but if you don't fireball the 2-drop, the 2-drop will kill your ghoul. So it's really a comparison of, is the existing ghoul in play, which if you fireball the bomber will be a 6 attack creature, it'll be a 6/3, is the 6/3 creature that's already in play, so is a 6/3 charge, or is fireball more important? So that's the comparison, and that's what people don't really realize a lot of the time. So of course you fireball, because later what are you going to do? Save fireball to do 6 face damage? If you choose not to trade with the bomber, actually the priest could really screw you up, because if the priest has a Velen's, he could Velen's the bomber and kill the ghoul for free, which would be a disaster. So in this case, if you're going to play it safe, and you should play it safe because you have more cards than your opponent, you should get rid of that bomber. So, do you do it with the ghoul or do you do it with the fireball? If you save the fireball for later, you do 6 face damage probably. Though if you fireball the bomber now, you do 6 face damage immediately with the ghoul, and you still have a ghoul at the end of the turn. So obviously, if you really, really think it through, it's better to use a spell than a creature, because the creature, yes, it can attack again. So that seems very, very obvious, and people are like really face-palming right now if you've really played Hearthstone for a while. But the interesting thing is that in Hearthstone, the opposite example is also true. So let's get to that now. This is also from the game at the end here, so you guys can see the context. This particular case is a little bit more subjective. You could take this game and play it more aggressively. You could just dump your hand, or you can fireball the light spawn in this case and just go face, 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 face. But what I want to highlight is the concept of the opposite. So in Hearthstone, specifically in Arena, it's really good practice if you know you're playing a control game, and Mage versus Priest is basically always going to be a control game, to minimize your losses if your opponent has a board clear. So in this case, what would my opponent have? My opponent would have a Holy Nova. And a Holy Nova is usually a lot less threatening than like a Flame Strike. So if the tables were reversed, it might be a more direct decision. But because Holy Nova doesn't tend to do that much, but because I haven't tested for Holy Nova, it hasn't been his 5th turn yet, if I fireball the light spawn, he could just clear my board with Holy Nova. And yes, I'd still be in pretty good shape. I'd still have board control. But these little creatures, they're just not really all that valuable. So the idea is, instead of using the spell removal in this case, you can remove with creatures if it's efficient enough. And that seems like really, really weird. But if you take it to like the next level, if you have nothing else to play, like I really want to save, in my case, I really want to save Fireball for a big creature. As we know from the previous slide, that ended up not being the case, but often against Priest it is. Against Priest, his win condition is playing a creature that the mage can't remove. He'll just keep healing it and you just lose. So saving one really big removal against Priest is really fundamental to actually winning the game as a mage. But okay, that aside, I wanted to save that piece of removal. So I didn't want to play an additional creature, because if I play like a Violet Teacher and go face, he would attack the Violet Teacher, then clear my board Holy Nova, and I'm completely screwed. So I could play the Violet Teacher and actually trade. And trading seems really bad. It's like a 3-for-1, but obviously I got some value with those creatures already. But doing so, I'd be in a pretty decent spot. It's not the best of plays, but it's all right. In the more extreme scenario, what I want to get at is, if you have, like, let's say 3 creatures on the board, and you're up against the mage, and he played nothing, and he probably has Flame Strike because it's a mage, and let's say he has like a big creature in play that you can kill with one of your own creatures or with like a spell removal, it's going to be better to kill it with a creature than your spell, which is the opposite of the original example, and then play like a replacement creature. So basically your board doesn't change and you still have the spell removal. So doing so makes it so you advance in the game, you still have board control because you're doing repeated damage because you have board control, you have the creatures already there, and you have the removal if something really goes wrong. And sometimes I do this with weapons. So if I'm playing Paladin against the mage and I have a True Silver up, and I have like 3 creatures in play, and I can trade one of them and I can replace it, I'd rather do that than actually use the True Silver charge. I mean, it may not make much sense, but if I use the True Silver charge and play that creature anyway, I'd lose all 4 to Flame Strike, and I wouldn't have the True Silver charge, so I'd basically start from nothing. But if I use a creature to remove it, even though that creature could do repetitive damage, I'm basically controlling, it's super control. I'm controlling the game that I know I'd win. So I trade with the creature, play another creature, my board doesn't really get any better, but I'm still winning. I'm still winning by a lot. And if he Flame Strikes, well, I still have the True Silver. So the turn after Flame Strike that I would have, I'd basically play whatever I would after I get Flame Striked anyway, but I still have the True Silver. So after a board clear, after the worst possible thing my opponent could do, my position in the game would be much stronger than it would otherwise be. So this type of play, this type of like simple but fundamental skill set will make it so you will very rarely lose a game that you're winning. And that's really important because it's really a shame to throw games in Hearthstone. So that's where we're at. Hope you guys learned something. Hope you guys see kind of how the mind of the Crypt works when he plays against and with mages in arena, all that kind of stuff. And I wanted to show you guys this little game here that had a lot of these examples. And again, some of the decisions are a bit subjective, but the concepts, they're sound. Learn them, check it out, enjoy it, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. This is one of the matchups we didn't want. Pretty good hand though, man. Pretty good.
So I played some Minecraft.
Yeah, what was that like?
That was great. There's like a mod pack where it like instantly kills you like all the time.
Okay.
You'll be chopping down a tree and then an ent will come out of it and just murder you. It's fun.
The fuck is an ent? Is that like a tree ent except the lame version?
Dude, you didn't watch Lord of the Rings? What the fuck? Crypt die. Man.
I just don't know what you're talking about. I know there's like some trees in one of the Lord of the Ring episodes. And like they're badass and stuff. Are those Ents? Ents?
Yeah. ENTS.
ENTS. Ents. Okay. I should probably sack some things in there because it's a fireball turn. Or it's a Holy Nova turn. That was dumb, wasn't it? Yeah, it's pretty dumb. I guess they have high tempo turn next. Sick trades, yeah, I know. I'm still 2 for 2 in this game, so it's not really that bad. And I can kill just about anything with the flame cannon combo. Oh, that's not included in that just about anything.
Pay attention, class. I'm ready to learn. I'm ready to learn.
A bit disappointed. Yeah, I mean, I could have done 7 damage against the 5-drop. It's just so happened that Sledge Belcher doesn't die to that. It's just like really awkward with its hit points. That is a hilarious draw.
Your magic shall not save.
God, I really don't want to do a Boulder Fist. This is where, like, you get fucked as a mage. It's because you need to play the biggest creature on the board to keep up with the priest. And if you do, you're in deep shit. I'm actually thinking of doing Grizzly Acolyte. I'll do Grizzly Acolyte. If I do Boulder Fist and he has a death and plays like a 5-drop, I instantly lose the game. And because he's playing silences on nothing, I think he has some of that. Maybe not the 5-drop part, but the death part for sure. Shadow Madness, Dark Iron. Oh god, that would be really ugly. Dark Iron in general is pretty ugly. Just to get maximum value from that Acolyte for sure. We have removal spells, so we can afford to not play big creature. And once he's really low on cards, Mirante should be very powerful.
Behold the might of Stormwind! Bring the pain.
That's not bad. Oh, that's a pretty good draw. Still pretty bad for me. Lost 1 card there, even with the Flame Strike.
Wanna blow something up?
I think I'm gonna fireball that that guy, by the way. I do think this is a fireball turn. Probably get mind controlled here, but as long as I can keep doing damage with the ghoul, I'll win.
Squire, attend me.
me, sir.
Let us see if this works.
Drink with me, friend. Job done.
Alright, going well, going well. It's a pretty good ghoul. It's not even mine.
As available.
Well played. Challenge accepted.
Alright. This priest literally got soloed by the ghoul.